Hi there, this is just a helpful guide, hopefully, on how to lay out your marketing campaign in the controlled assessment for Unit 2, developing a marketing campaign for the BTEC Business course. Now, I do understand this unit causes much confusion. I'm hoping I can help to resolve that by just demonstrating how to actually lay it out in the controlled assessment. It's the same every time, so I'm not going to be going through the scenario as such. What I'm doing is focusing on how you need to lay it out when you go into part B of Unit 2, developing a marketing campaign. So stay with me. Okay, let's have a look at some tips and points to remember about this particular controlled assessment. Remember, it comes in two parts. You should know that by now. You get given a Part A booklet on the first day and the Part B booklet on the second day. So the Part A is normally in the afternoon, where you're going to control time, low control time, and you'll read the Part A booklet and make two sides of A4 notes. That's one piece of paper on what you're reading about in your Part A booklet, and then you'll be back the next day for Part B and actually writing your marketing campaign. So this particular video is focusing on Part B, how to lay that out and to get those crucial 70 marks. The Part A booklet, remember, you can take this home. I know it sounds a bit strange, but you can take it home, you can write on it, and you can do what you like with it. Highlight it and then make sure you bring it back the next day, because then it's going to be your reference to be able to help you write your marketing campaign, because you'll get more information in Part B the next day. The Part B booklet you receive the next day, as I just said, and you have 3 hours in which to write your marketing campaign. Now that sounds like a long time, and of course if you get extra time, for example 25%, that means you'll be in the exam room for 3 hours 45 minutes, but the main exam is just 3 hours. It will go very quickly. You have a lot to write in that time, but stay with me and I'll show you exactly how to lay that out. Part B comes in two parts. That's important to note as well. It's split into two parts of activity 1 and activity 2. And activity 1 is worth 34 marks and activity 2 obviously 36 marks. Total of 70 marks. Remember, there's 0 marks for Part A but 70 marks for Part B. All right, and you have to be there for both days. You can't really go into Part B having not turned up for Part A and so forth. You really do need to make sure that you're in both parts of this exam. Okay, and a quick reminder of January 2024 grade boundaries. What is it that you need to do to get distinction on this? Because that's what you're aiming for. And as you can see, it says at the bottom there, just below Unit 3, Unit 2, developing marketing campaign, maximum marks 70. A distinction in that period, you had to get 54 out of 70, which isn't too bad. If you got 40 out of 70, then of course you got a merit, and 26 out of 70 you would have secured a pass, and 13 and above would have secured you an N, a near pass, and anything below 13 would be graded as a U. Now, if you stay with me on this video and watch how I'm going to lay out my Part B, and if you do exactly as I'm saying, I can't guarantee, because it does depend what you say in your marketing campaign, but I do guarantee that potentially you could easily pass this Unit 2 developing marketing campaign if you follow the layout and then put it in, of course, correctly. But the main thing is about filling it out properly. So let's take a look at that as well. So quick reminder of what the exam papers look like before we get started. So this is the one from Thursday, 9th May 2024, and this one was focusing on a business scenario called Funky Flasks. So you may hear me refer to that in this video. All right, so just to keep that in the back of your mind. Yep, this is Part A. So you'll get given this on the first day. Like I say, normally in the afternoon. You'll sit in the room 2 hours, go through this, make some notes on it. I think that's the key point. Your teacher would have guided you as to kind of notes, and you may be able to use that tutor to you template that Jim's put together, which was excellent, and a lot of colleges and schools use this. in the Part A exam as a template to help lay out what needs to be done. Speak to your teacher about that. But yeah, Part A, that's what it looks like. And then, of course, you come back the next morning and you get given Part B. And so this one obviously is the next day. Part B looks very similar, but just wanted to show you what they look like. Of course, the content inside you need to read and absorb. I wouldn't waste too much time on Part A highlighting in that time. You can do that when you get home because you're allowed to take the Part A booklet home, as I mentioned. So do all your highlighting and writing on it actually at home later that evening. But I would you make sure you get your 2 sides of A4 notes done on the computer during that time. And then, like I say, you come back the next morning and you're ready to write your marketing campaign. This is where I come in, telling you about how to lay that out to get those 70 marks. Okay, so we're about to now get started on how to lay out Part B. So stick with me, this is how it should look. All right, so what you need to do is you need to make a note of all these headings on the night you get your Part A booklet. When you come home with your Part A booklet, write down all these subheadings somewhere in the Part A booklet because you're going to need them the next day. And the next day when you go into the exam and you open up Part B, this is what you need to write. Okay, so you open up your Word document and write all of these headings, subheadings and so forth, exactly as it's laid out there. This will help to keep you organized and structured throughout the 3 hours. Now, of course, we start off with just doing this bit up here, which is the name. Okay, so this is really important. Now, I don't understand people that go into an exam and don't put their name on a piece of paper. You need to make sure that you do this. Okay, so in this case I've put Simon _ Smith _ 12345, which is a fictional center number. You'll get given that on the day. _ 4321, which is a fictional exam number for a student. And you'll get given that on the day, and then _ activity 1 and 2. Now in the case of this particular one, obviously I am doing activity 1 and activity 2 together. Some people tend to do activity 1 in one document, activity 2 in another document. My preference is to do both together, saves time, keeps it all in the one place, and you've only got to remember to put your name on the paper once, especially if you put it in a header, because it will appear on every single page that you do. So start off with that. There we go, just to remind you, put your name. Then of course just a bit of sort of structure work, putting in the word funky flasks, because that's the particular scenario that we've been given. And then marketing campaign unit 2, activity 1, and then start off with an introduction. Now, it's no requirement to do an introduction, but I think it's a really nice way of telling the examiner you know what you're doing if you know the length of the campaign, how much money or budget that you have, and also which option you have chosen. I think it's a really nice way of structuring and presenting your work. Then you move on to your marketing objectives, and you should know by now you do 3 marketing objectives, and then you move on to another area called research. You don't have to write anything under the word research, but you do under the green stuff that says marketing size, share and structure, target market, competitors, trends, and reliability and validity of data. I'll talk more about those in this video. I'm just talking about headings at the moment. Then you move into the justification area, and you do you use those business tools. You either choose 2 of 3, I should say, 2 of 3, which is either SWOT analysis or pestle analysis or product lifecycle. So likely most people, everybody tends to do a SWOT analysis because it's reasonably easy to understand, and then you choose whether you're going to do the pestle analysis or the product life cycle. Now you might say, which one should I do? Well, it really does depend on the scenario, but it is perfectly okay to do a pestle or product life cycle. That's activity 1 done. There's 34 marks waiting for you there if you filled all that incorrectly. And then you move straight on to activity 2. Again, easy for the examiner to identify when activity 2 starts because I've put activity 2. Straight on to what's the next subheading, which is marketing message. And then marketing mix is another bit you're going to write about. That's crucial because that's worth 20 marks to you. So keep that in the back of your mind because you've got to make sure you're writing enough there. Then, of course, you've got budget, timeline, and then to finish off, a conclusion. No requirement to write a conclusion. But I always think, again, it's a nice way of closing off the marketing campaign, saying to the examiner whether you think it is going to be successful or it's not going to be successful. It's entirely up to you how you want to conclude it. I just think it's a really nice way of finishing touch. Now, the crucial couple of things that I often hear when students come out of the exam is, I didn't get onto the marketing mix, or I didn't get time to do the timeline or the budget and things like that. You've got to watch your timings. Okay, get something down for every single section. All right, and remember, activity 2, marketing mix, that's 20 crucial marks there for you. All right, so get that spot on and you could just pass it on that alone. But you need to make sure that you do absolutely everything on there. So do keep an eye on the clock. All right, and just a quick reminder, okay, because this is absolutely crucial, just to write down the headings that are on the left there on the Part A booklet the night before, and make sure this is the first thing you do in Part B. Write down all of these headings and it will keep you organized throughout writing your marketing campaign. Okay, so let's get started now on going into a bit more depth on each section so you know how to fill it out, or certainly what to consider under each section. So here we go. So again, I recommend that you write an introduction. You could introduce your marketing campaign and which option you have chosen and why, because normally you get given two in the controlled assessment. You could briefly mention the length of the campaign and how much budget you have. It sets the scene for the examiner, so the examiner knows you understand what you're writing about and why you're doing it. You could also just mention that, do you think the budget is big enough for the length of the campaign? So, for example, if you had a £25,000 budget for a 6-month campaign, well, it's probably not going to be enough money. Mention it at the beginning so the examiner knows that you're thinking along those lines. Anyway, where you are going to get some marks though is writing 3 marketing objectives, and they need to nicely align with the overall business objectives. So for example, if there's a requirement to increase sales, if that's what the overall business objective is, then of course your marketing objectives need to be around that. Now normally it's around something about increasing social media following, increasing sales. Remember, the objectives need to be smart as well. All right, so more about your teacher will have told you all about that. But that starts you off. So introduction first, followed by marketing objectives. Let's move on. So next up on the marketing campaign is this section. So you've got a nice subheading called research, a bit self-explanatory that, and it's worth 12 marks to you, this section, and it includes the following. So you've got to write something about the market size, share and structure. This is where your sort of research back in Part A will come from. So it's based on the information you've read in Part A and your own research. You should write a few paragraphs highlighting and analysing key findings and statistics from the resource pack provided, and explain how important this information is, with some explanation of how it will influence your marketing mix and your marketing campaign. So you're trying to pick out snippets from it, read it carefully, lots of crucial information in there about the market size, share and structure. Target market, well, you should have heard about this, and as long as you're using all this marketing terminology in your marketing campaigns, you will get extra marks for using marketing terminology, by the way. So you need to know about who the target market is, and you should discuss who the target market is for the product and why, and you should make reference to information in Part A and B as evidence as to who the target market is. Competitors, who are the business's competitors, and what impact might that have on the marketing campaign itself. Trends as well. What are the current trends in the current market for the product or service you're writing about? Is it a growing or declining market? Likely you're going to get an indication of that in the Part A, Part B booklets. Does the market suggest that the campaign will be successful? Extra marks if you can do that there. Not necessarily extra marks, but you get what I mean. So he did say, does the market suggest that the campaign will be successful? There we go. And finally, under research, of course, is reliability and the validity of the data. What the hell does that mean? Well, basically, it's saying all the information you've looked at, how do you know it is reliable, and what about the validity of the data? How can you trust it? You should make a comment on this on both the secondary research and the primary research. It's very important to comment on the validity and the reliability of the data to get a sense of how helpful it was and how relevant the information is, and to comment on which aspects of it should be considered when developing the marketing campaign as well. So for example, if there's been some good primary research, for example, that actually aligns with the marketing campaign, you should bring that up and say how useful that particular bit of primary information is. So for example, Funky Flasks did a primary research questionnaire, and they did it to 750 people, which is a wide audience, which makes it very reliable in the sense of how many people that they asked. You know, they didn't just go and ask 10 people. According to the pack, they asked 750 people. So very useful and reliable, I guess, in certain respects, of course, not necessarily all the time. But there we go. You kind of get the gist of what I'm saying, but this is the research area. And if you write something under each of those, that will keep you on track for those 12 marks. Okay, so let's look at the final section of activity 1, and it's the justification area. So you put a subheading there of justification. Underneath there, you're going to do two things. You're going to write SWOT analysis, or pestle analysis, or product lifecycle. This is the business tools area. So businesses or people in marketing use these business tools to help them with their marketing campaigns. And one of them is a SWOT analysis, another one is a pestle analysis, and the other one is product lifecycle. Now my preference is to do the SWOT and the pestle. I find them probably the most easiest to talk about when it comes to products and services. But of course, product lifecycle may be relevant to the scenario that you're going to get given in the exam. So do consider that one as well. When you're doing your SWOT analysis, what you're trying to do is identify the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats of that particular product, industry, and how it links to your marketing campaign. Make sure you link it back to the marketing campaign itself and the marketing mix perhaps, or marketing message. That's significant and relevant. That will help you to get top marks as well. Remember, you're not just doing sort of general sweeping statements as well. So also the pestle analysis. So you'll know that obviously pestle stands for political, economic, social, technological, legal, environmental, and you only have to pick out three of the main factors out of that are going to have such an impact on your particular product or service. So you don't have to necessarily do all the letters in the pestle. So from my point of view, like say a SWOT and a pestle would be my preference, but you do it how you want to do it. Just make sure you do at least 2 out of the 3 though. Okay, so now we are on to the final section, which is activity 2, worth 36 marks to you. Definitely worth doing. Make sure that you've got your timings right and that you've got a good hour and a half, maybe hour 20 minutes to make sure that you get all of this done. All right, make sure you get something in each section. Starts off with the marketing message, and then it moves on to the crucial bit, which is the marketing mix, worth 20 marks to you. Definitely worth filling in, obviously, making sure that you're covering all aspects of the marketing mix, and your teacher should have gone through that, obviously covering product, price, place and promotion, and an extended marketing mix of people, process and physical environment. Get that right, and watch one of my other videos about that as well for some more information about that, but get that right and you got yourself 20 marks there. Budget. This is basically talking about how you're going to be spending the money over the campaign, and you need to make sure that you get this right as well. So it needs to stay in line with the budget. It doesn't have to be to the exact penny, but of course, say if you've got a £60,000 budget and you're spending 100,000, well, you haven't stayed within budget. So you need to make sure that you kind of stick around roughly around the budget, and make sure you're spending the money in line with the marketing objectives and perhaps the marketing mix as well. All right, so try to justify what you're spending it on and why you're spending it. All right, so that's really important as well. And hopefully your teacher has gone through the budget. I'll be doing a separate video on budget as well. Timescale, also known as potentially called a Gantt chart. A Gantt chart is basically a visual display of when things are going to be done within the marketing campaign. Have a look at my other video on timescales and Gantt charts, because that explains how to do one. Very, very simple, just done in a table very, very quickly. And then, as I've mentioned earlier, conclusion is always a nice way to finish off your marketing campaign. Just a few lines saying about whether you think it's going to be successful or not. You can say it's not, as long as you can justify why. And then that is it. That will be the time up. So, like I say, quick reminder or quick recap. I'm not giving you much information about what to write in this, but I've given you some great information, I feel, about how to lay it all out. And that's the crucial thing to get you started, all right? Because you're going to need these subheadings. And many times I hear students say, oh, I missed this bit out, I missed that bit out. By doing this, of course, you won't miss anything out. You'll have everything written in front of you and ready to go. All right, and also it will remind you of how much you've still got to write in the exam as you scroll down and see all these sort of unfilled in paragraphs that you've got to do. So it's a really helpful way of keeping on track. Now, just to say, I wish you all the best with it. It's not easy, this particular unit, and not easy to get your head round, but this layout will certainly help you to think about some of the things of the way it should look. All right, so good luck with it. Try and aim to get at least sort of 55 out of 70. That will keep you on track for the distinction, and I hope that you found this video useful. Good luck. Thank you.